trip's finally here. Going to Old Oaks. It's the 11th of January. I've actually decided to go 2 days earlier and probably stay a couple of days later to make it into a probably, hopefully 11 day trip, maybe 12. All depends how the fishing goes. Now the lake itself is opposite, owned by the same owner as a lake called Larousse, down in Le Mans in a village called Spey. I've been to Larousse twice. It's where I had my PB. But Old Oaks, the reason I'm going in a winter ticket is because purely it's an exclusive lake only. Obviously meaning that it's fishable up to 4 to 5 people sharing a cost of something in the region of £2.5 grand. But I've got a special winter deal with angling lines. So I managed to go there for the week with my crossing for £280. I can't really turn it down. There was a guy there last week, finished on Saturday, done 5 nights and had 5 big fish up to £60. 59, 60, I can't remember, but they're feeding. I've spoke to the owner. We're gonna go for a right good briefing. He's given me a lot of details because I'm actually taking his lake dye out for Larousse, which I managed to pick up in England. Saves him a lot of money, so I've managed to get enough dye to dye the waters. I mean, in excess of 150 million litres of concentrated blue dye to keep the weeds down in the summer for his lake. So I've met him. He's absolutely smashing guy. Everyone leaves him rave reviews. One of the nicest blokes you'll ever met. If you look on my previous videos of a visit to Larousse, he grows giant vegetables, and he comes second in the world record for giant pumpkins, and obviously sells the seeds worldwide. But he's an absolute brilliant fish farmer. And Old Oaks, which I'm so looking forward to, is all the big fish that come out between December, January months. Even though big fish do come out all year, it's just the lake records are normally during the winter months. So it's quite mild. We're looking tomorrow when I arrive. I mean, we're looking at 13 degrees, and it pretty much stabilises right till sort of like the end of next week. So it's pretty good weather before the winter kicks in, which is normally sort of like mid-January through February. But it's been mild, it's sort of like jumper weather. I'm only wearing a coat because it breezes. Tennoy's on, so what I'll do, my next catch up would be when I get to the lake, and then I'm going to do some, as much videoing as I can on this trip. And a little bit longer than the other videos, but this lake is top notch. And to be fair, as long as I get one decent fish, I'll be happy. But obviously I want more. But I love going to France. And ladies and gentlemen, right, catch you later. So here we are at Old Oaks. Just start with the facilities. Shower, basin, toilet, fridge and freezer. Nice comfortable area. And then I'll picture the lake, little stop pond there. So you're looking about 50 yards wide. first impressions. 5-acre lake. So you can drive to unload and then car park back at the facilities. Muddy. That should be okay. Right, just finished setting up. Cook tent as usual. Just using a table to set all the bait up. Put the rods out. Right, it's now Friday, 2 o'clock. So I've sorted all the stuff out. So, and I'm cooking some fresh hemp. Because when I'm on the bank, I like to cook that fresh. So it's really nice, and then I'll mix that in with everything else. So, just done all my rods. So what I've done, the 2 trees over there, I'm just off the bank on those 2 trees. Now, I've sort of like, not heavily baited it, but I've put some extra pellets in, which the owners told me, but that they're like melt down and infuse the water more than feeding, which they do as well, obviously, but he's told me that. So that's what I've done there, and then I've got one couple of metres off the bank over there. So I've said to the owner, the first 2 days it's all trial and error. So we're going to see what's working, like slightly lighter bait or slightly heavier bait, what rigs, what wafters, corn pop-ups, whatever, and then that'll set me up for the whole week. So just got all organised, and then what I'll do, I've got a jacket there on the chair. I'll just keep that, so if I catch a fish, I'll put that on. Saves all your clothes getting slimy, and I'll use that throughout the week. And a couple of things got for Christmas this year. Got a new waders cover. Keep your waders under that, keeps them all dry, keeps them outside ready, and which I think is absolutely brilliant. I've got a new phone stroke iPad stand from my daughter for Christmas, and it's absolutely brilliant. It goes up to about 8 foot in height, that does. And also, not only for photographing the fish, we use it for putting your iPad on. This comes right down to take an iPad, and that obviously goes up, as you can see, 4 sections there, as high as you want it. Put it by your bed, don't get a crook neck. So, like I said, Friday, 2 o'clock. I've got another, if I stay another day, I've got another 8 days after today. So my first 2 days, like I said, just feeling it in, feeling the waters, seeing what they're doing. And like I said, it's pretty warm. At the moment, it's just 12 degrees, and the water is warm. First fish, £25. So I'm just going to try this area here, because everyone who fishes on this lake always do that far margin all the way up. Not a lot do open water. I said to the owner, which I'm going to question him on, and you'll see it later, I'm going to ask him lots of things, that why do people neglect the margins in front of them rather than always trying it the opposite banks. So I'm going to try down here, probably 3 rod lengths out, because I feel that fisherman there will automatically go across, and anyone fishing here automatically go across. And this is a bit of a bait. So we've got hemp, mixed particle, cell essential gloved boilies, and a small pellet with a little bit of maize as well. Sorry, hemp. And in the boat. Now this is the quantity in this. This is about just under half full. And that's about half of what I would do in the summer months when you're heavily baiting. So like I said, the first 2 days I'm trying it out. I'm seeing whether heavy baiting is working or slightly lower baits. So I've had 2 fish on the lower baiting tactics in the little, I'll show you the little ridge monkey. And that only holds 1 kilo max. And that's what I had the 2 fish on. But the first 2 days, like I said, is all about trial and error. Trying to work the lake out, trying to see what's happening. So it's not a problem if we don't catch. If you know, this lake is 5 acres, so a bit of bait down there, heavily baited, and I don't catch it, ain't gonna affect anything. So it's sussing it out really. First night, really quiet today. I'd love another one tonight, but I've got a long session and I'm going to be patient, which we all know we've got to be. Second fish. £35. Caught on blueberry wafter, topped with corn. Well, Tuesday morning, conditions have really changed and we've got snow till 12 o'clock. Fishing is really, really slow.
I had a couple of knocks yesterday. So now is my point where I have to make a decision to set up down that end of the lake and do the other half of the trip down that bottom. So I've had 2 fish up here, but it's just not happening. So I'll set my little bivvy up down the bottom, then wait for some dry weather to come back up here and pack down. And then get comfortable down there. It's going to be a bit of a slog, but I think it's going to have to be done. Right, so I'm now going down into where my van is down there in swim 1. And just going up now to get the rods. I've made it pretty comfortable for the next 3 or 4 days. But I'll have to come back up and pack down my bivvy and cook tent because it's a bit too wet for that. And my bivvy going up down in swim 1 was a dry 2-man bivvy, so that's good. Like I said, it was snowing earlier, but these are the things you've got to do. And to be fair, now I've done it, it feels like a new session and the positivity is there. So just have one last look at me swim 3, and like I say, I'm hoping to target the bottom end of the lake now. It's now Tuesday midday, so it's took me about 2 hours, but all this now is empty. Well, apart from the cooking facilities, I'll just come back up now and get what I need, because I can't cook big. I'll have to go on just like toasties and things. I can put the oven in the log cabin, but it does state no cooking inside. So just going to get the rods, reel them in, and you never know, because on here you get a single bleep, and if you're fishing like I am up in that far corner, that single bleep is pretty much a slack line until the fish goes the other way. So I've had it before, I've pulled in, so saying that, I didn't have no bleeps in the night. So like I say, fresh approach, second half of the week, new beginning, let's have it. Right, so I'm all set up now on peg 1. Quite comfortable now. Even though this is how most people fish in France, with just a little bivvy, this for me feels small. So the rods are out, and I'm fishing this near bay. Got rods over here, and then off the far margin. But it feels better. It's the second half of the holiday. Leave that end of the lake behind. Had 2 fish from that. And then we see what this can bring. Just feels like a new session, so all good. And I'm only that far away from the cabin to have a shower, etc. Right, it's now Wednesday evening, say evening, about 5 PM. It's going to be dark in an hour. Still slow. I've had 1 knock, but nothing. Completely packed down from the other end. Took my bivvy down, took the cook tent down. That's it all on top of the van. So what I've done, I've got the cooker, because you're not allowed to cook in the cabin, so I wouldn't go against that. I've got the oven there, cooking a pizza. And then what I've done, I bought what I've done, I bought a cheap two-man bivvy from Go Outdoors for my final night pack down. But because I moved, I come down early. It meant spending 5 nights down this end of the lake. So I used a cook tent as an overwrap because I didn't have an overwrap, and without that overwrap, you are knackered. Because last night was -2, everything frozen, dripping through, and in the morning I just drip, 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 drip. So hopefully I'll let you know how tomorrow goes on with that. I don't know till the morning, but I completely tip with my cook tent. So yeah, it don't look pretty. Right, it's now Thursday morning, 11 o'clock, and it's just touching 1 degrees. It's been a really cold couple of nights, but I've just been into a fish. Lost it 2 rod lengths out. Fishing on that spot there, about a rod length and a half off that bank. So they're there. Just it's so, you've got to be so patient. And another couple of knocks down here, but what I've found out now is strike on them knocks. Don't wait for it to run, because they're not running. They're being quite astute, you know. Some of them sit still and try and shake. So you've got to up your game. You've got to be aware, and it takes you a while to find this out, because most people think your rod's just going to scream away. And when it don't, it plays you, you know. Do I leave it? Do I strike it? What do I do? Because you wait a long time. You know, in the summer months when they're screaming off, and probably 2 runs a day, probably more, you know, on some lakes. So you've got to keep your wits about you. You know, I've got this opportunity on this lake for this week, like I said, which holds the owner. I've had a meeting with him, and he said they're up to about £78. So you just know they're in there. So any moment, you know, you could be striking that sort of fish. But let's see how it goes. It's hard week, but dedication, perseverance, patience is the key, as we all know. You know, you're gonna have days and days of just solid nothing, and you just got to be patient. Right, it's now Thursday morning, 11 o'clock, and it's just touching 1 degrees. It's been a really cold couple of nights, but I've just been into a fish. Lost it 2 rod lengths out. Fishing on that spot there, about a rod length and a half off that bank. So they're there. Just it's so, you've got to be so patient. And another couple of knocks down here, but what I've found out now is strike on them knocks. Don't wait for it to run, because they're not running. They're being quite astute, you know. Some of them sit still and try and shake. So you've got to up your game. You've got to be aware, and it takes you a while to find this out, because most people think your rod's just going to scream away. And when it don't, it plays you, you know. Do I leave it? Do I strike it? What do I do? Because you wait a long time. You know, in the summer months when they're screaming off, and probably 2 runs a day, probably more, you know, on some lakes. So you've got to keep your wits about you. You know, I've got this opportunity on this lake for this week, like I said, which holds the owner. I've had a meeting with him, and he said they're up to about £78. So you just know they're in there. So any moment, you know, you could be striking that sort of fish. But let's see how it goes. It's hard week, but dedication, perseverance, patience is the key, as we all know. You know, you're gonna have days and days of just solid nothing, and you just got to be patient just to leave your rods. The rods are staying out for pretty much 20 hours at a time. You know, some a little bit longer, some a little bit shorter, but I'm just leaving them and seeing, you know, about 3 kilos, sorry, 3 kilos, 3/4 of a kilo in a ridge monkey anchor. Ridge monkey hunter. I've got the microcat 3 below. When I go right out there. And on that one I just lost what I've done a little bag. And off the hook length, on the end of the hook, I've done a little, what you call a parachute system, a few boilies in it, a bit of foam nuggets, holds up and then drops just above the hook. And that got me that run. So I'm going to try that a bit later over in that bay. It is just so carpy down there. The depths aren't that great. I don't know if you can really see that. But I'll try that later. And so here it goes, another cold day. Pizza later. Well, I had half last night, I'll have the other half tonight, and probably a toasty. Just bare scratchings last couple of days because all the cook tent's down. So, let's have it. Right, it's now Saturday, about 2 o'clock. So I'm just going to show you first before I tell you what's happened. I'm actually staying another week, decided yesterday. So what I've done, I set up big, got the ridge monkey up there, all sorted out, doing my cooking in that. And then I've kept my little temporary setup, which was only for the last couple of nights. That's just for my odds and ends and my baiting area. Well, I've just struck in to my PB, and for me, yeah, it's big enough. It's £56. Lovely, lovely mirror. About a 20-minute battle. Get it in, shaking like a leaf I was. But I banked it. And yeah, so absolutely over the moon. And that was caught on just a little single pop-up over loads of hemp and sweet corn. Little bit of pellet, no boilies on that. And that was advice from the French guys who were fishing up in swim 3. I moved from there because I just felt I had 2 fish, but I come down to this end of the lake for the last 4 nights. Had 4 nights, couple of knocks, couple of little knocks and that. So, and then decided to stay for the other week. Mrs is going to Poland on Friday, and she said, well, stay till I go, and then we'll both return together. So you only asked me once. So I put a video up, obviously, but I'm absolutely buzzing. 3 degrees temperatures, hard work, patience, like I said earlier. It pays off. If you're prepared to wait and put the hard work in, all them days of nothing go out the window. So now a few beers, chili con carne tonight, and yeah, rod's back out and it's all good. Showed it earlier, but it weren't very good filming. They're the rigs I'm using, which is an IQD rig. And what I'm doing, I'm using a micro swivel and putting a bit of bait floss through just for that last bit of colour, which is actually orange. I know it's showing yellow. Have a look. Yeah, here we go. It's orange. And that is lovely buoyancy on that. that's all in with probably a tin hold to the sweet corn over pellets and a bit of party blend. Good. Video. Right, it's Thursday. I've been here now exactly 2 weeks. So I've got 36 hours left, so I'm going to pretty much summarise my trip and tell you what I've found from Old Oaks. Lovely lake, hard in the winter. Very hard, obviously, due to the weather. But luckily enough, today, the beginning of the holiday was lovely. 9 degrees for the first 3 days, and then it dipped. It dipped to -1, 0, -2, 1 degrees, and it was bloody hard. So, all in all, up to this point, had 3 fish, lost 2. I'm happy with that. I've hit my PB. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn around to the lake and just summarise up what I feel that is going to be a great opportunity for anybody who wants to come here in the summer as an exclusive booking. I would personally say you don't want no more than 5 people. 5 people max. 4 great, obviously more expensive, because I think it's $2.5 grand for the week with a crossing. I'm sure the crossing allows 2 vehicles. So obviously if you're more, 5 max, 3 in one, 2 in the other. And I'd love to do it in the summer, but I fish alone, and the only other person I go with is my brother-in-law. So it would just be too expensive. So I would opt to go over the road to Larousse, which is individual swims, and I can fish that for about 450 quid for the week, and that holds carp up to, I think, £67, maybe a little bit more, but obviously the record in this lake is 75. I'd say it's pushing that. I'd say it's probably 80 now, because he feeds and stocks his ponds and his lakes very well. So he knows his fish, and he's saying, but they're hitting 80, and I believe him. Anyway, I'll just turn around. So this is peg 1. So if you're going to fish it in the summer between a party of say 4 or 5, one person will be doing this peg, which will take you the whole bay around to that white marker where that tree's coming down. Where that duck is here, or coot or whatever it is, that's where I had my PB. Now, like I said, the shelf comes down to about 5 meters out before it starts going deep. So I'm actually fishing a bit deeper water because of the weather. But in the summer, 100%, 3 to 5 meters off of all the far margin, all the way up the lake, because that is your natural patrol route. Even on this side, they'll just wander over and they'll find that channel. So swim 2, swim 3, and beyond that is 4 and 5. I personally think 4 and 5 are a bit close together. So whoever fishes 4 and 5 would opt to move between them. But like I said, if 4 people come, then you would have a spare swim with the option to move. So I think you've got a maximum depth in this lake of about 13 foot. And the margins, that bank is like a slope shelf, this margin is pretty much deep. It's a deep dig, which history says and the owner says that everyone who comes on this lake catch all their big fish off of that far bank. So it's pretty much far bank fishing. Walk round, take your boat across, walk round, take the time to do it, and once you're about 3 metres to 5 metres off that bank, then drop it. From here it's a bit deceiving. That 1 metre difference is a lot. So I'm pretty much going on the perspective of what you would do in the summer rather than what I'm doing here today. So today, obviously, and this last 2 weeks, I've been trying everything. I've been trying the middle, I've been trying the deep water, I've been trying the margins. And the 2 biggest fish, 35 pounds, 56 pounds, have come 5 metres off of that bank there. And over there, the other side of them electric lines off of swim 3, and 1 in open water up towards the far end. So that pretty much sums up the lake, Old Oaks. Facilities ain't far away, they're just down in the bottom left corner. And use your vehicles up to your swim, unload, and adequate parking for your vehicles. Fridge, freezer, toilet, nice hot shower. So, am I glad I come? Yes, I am. 2 weeks? No, I wish I'd never done 2 weeks now. I wish I'd done 10 days maximum. But now, being a Thursday, packed down tomorrow, home on Saturday, I'm glad I'm over the worst of it, because I have had freezing conditions. Can't even turn your reels because they're so frozen in the mornings. But like I said, it was my only opportunity as a solo fisherman to do this lake, and that is in the harsh winter. And I think it was 5th of December the lake records come out. So big fish get caught in the winter, but obviously you're not going to catch a lot of fish unless you're in the summer months, because you just got no clues of where these fish are. There's nothing showing, and you've just got to just keep trying and trying and trying and trying and trying, which I have done. Bad knocks. Apart from the 2 I lost, I think I had a run with nothing on it, and I also had a bleep in the night, picked it up, and I had a fish on in the morning still, but lost that halfway through bringing that in. So I tried everything. Bait I used, Cell Essential, Cell, and I'd done them on 2 rods, and on the other 2 rods I was using sweet corn and hemp, just with artificial corn. Artificial corn brought in the biggest fish, and the other 2 were caught on blueberry wafter and a Cell Essential wafter. So summer months obviously boily, 100%, but I would always put 1 rod out on hemp and corn with fake, even in the summer. So that pretty much wraps up my trip to Old Oaks. So like I say, got a big pack down tomorrow, and sleep in that tomorrow night, so I can just wrap that down, put it in a black bag, and there you go. Fishing in France, January 2024.